Okay.
As most of you folks know, I'm filling in for Gary. And so you've got me, and I do not profess to be a fantastic fly tyer. I tie just good enough. So I thought I'd share a couple of patterns, which I learned many years ago, and actually still are my go-to patterns, not only in Canada, where I was introduced to both these patterns, but also down here. First one's going to be a Georgi Damsel, and the second is a fly pattern everyone probably knows, and that's the Chan's ruby-eyed leech. I will say that there are better videos for instructing on tying both of these on YouTube. So Phil Rowley has a good tying video for the Chan's ruby-eyed leech, and there are a couple with the Edmonton Fly Club with Brian Chan actually tying his own fly. So this is the tying recipe I have out is in blonde. I'm going to tie it in olive tonight for a couple of reasons. One, when I looked in my fly boxes, I've got enough tan flies to sink a ship, and I don't need any more. So I'm going to tie it in olive. But I was introduced to this pattern. It was actually developed by Georgie Abbott. And Georgie and her husband used to own the fly shop in Logan Lake, Canada. And if any of you have fished the Okanagan of Canada, Logan Lake is located about an hour north of Merritt, BC. There's Tonquah Provincial Park, and there are two lakes there, Tonquah and Layton Lake. And this pattern was developed actually to fish Layton Lake. And so I think this was developed probably in the mid 90s, and that's when I started going up there pretty regularly for about 20 years, and would go up there and fish both in the summer and in the fall. And Tonquah is known for its chronomid hatch, but Layton Lake is known for its damsel hatch. And this fly actually imitates the immature damsel, which is available to fish year round. And so I tend to fish it year round. I don't actually ever fish emerging damsels. You really don't have to, because the damsel goes through several instar stages, and the damsel nymph will be right down in the detritus in the bottom of the lake, crawling around 365 days a year. So the fly tends to work. It's a small fly. It's typically tied in 12s and 14s, and that's because it's that instar stage. It's not the mature damsel that's about ready to come out of and hatch. So it is I apologize. I'm not a great tyer, but just bear with me as I hack my way through it. So this is a 5262 Timco fly. So it's 2X, single strength. And so it's a fairly short fly. As I said, I'm going to tie it in olive. And this is, I think the pattern says for Ado. I was looking through my thread and could only find 6O, so I don't think it really matters. The fish don't come up and look at it and read it. And I think the key piece to this pattern and a lot of patterns are the eyes. So this damsel nymphs have very evident eyes, and I'm going to use some commercially tied eyes or molded eyes, which I think are, even though they're plastic, I think they're made of gold by the way they charge for them. And I try to put them back. This is probably going to be a little tight to the head, but try to put them about a third back from the head. And I probably made this mistake. I was going to warn everybody. In fact, I'm going to take them off if I can. Just crowding that head. the one thing I found in tying this is I'm always tying the eyes too close to the head. Real simple pattern. You can just crank them out. And it's got a copper rib. Oops, need to clip that post off. One of the challenges I'm having is I can't use the light on my magnifier here or I'll blow out the camera. So bear with me as I try to see what I'm doing. So you tie in the rib. And then there's just a marabou. And I'm going to plug this company. I'm not sure you can see that, but I actually don't buy domestic marabou anymore. I buy it from the UK. There's a company over there called Flybox, and they have just excellent blood marabou in any sort of color you want. In addition, they have all the makings for all the English patterns, just any sort of materials for chronomids or what they call buzzers, blobs, boobies, you name it, all sorts of fritzes and fantastic colors. And the prices are good. And actually the shipping is not bad, even though it's the UK. So just a tuft of marabou. That may be a bit much. I actually like to control it by moistening it. So the problem is that when we finish the fly, it will look pretty funky because it's all still moistened down. We're going to rip the tail to length, so it really doesn't matter how much you have sticking out. I usually length of the hook shank just during the tying. Spiral my thread up to the back of the eyes. And I just sort of wrap the marabou around. These instars have a real slim body. So when this fly dries out, the little marabou barbules will just stick out between the rib. I haven't been looking much at the screen, but are you able to see this clearly, or am I the only one who can see it? And like with any flies, just whoops. Keep my marabou under control here. Cut it off in the back of my scissors. I know that most folks break that off, but I've never had that work for me very well, so I just cut it off. And buy new scissors when I need to. And then a little hackle. I probably had this saddle hackle patch for 20 years. Whoops. Drag it right back out. I'm having a hard time seeing tonight with this lighting in here. Just a couple of wraps. Times like this, I wish I had smaller fingers. And then just take the marabou and wrap it between the eyes. Once up front. Tie it off. Clip. So I'll make a confession here. For years, this silly little, what is it, Martinelli, whip finisher, I could never figure out how to use it. And so I was always doing half hitches. And then I think it was maybe only about 15 years ago, I decided to figure out how to use it. And it was a revelation. It just changed my tying. And I actually, it's my favorite part of a fly is whip finishing it at the end. But for some reason, I just had a block around it and I just couldn't use it. Now I can, and I really enjoy it, finishing a fly. So that's it. It's kind of rough. It's buggy. I think it's the eyes that have it. I think, and I have tied them without eyes, and they don't work near as well. So these eyes are a little exaggerated, but that's exactly what you want. It's a small fly. Because of my big fingers, I was tempted to one time to always tie them in 10s because I could actually manipulate, tie better. But 12s and down to 14s, I don't think you need to go down to 16s. Just rip the tail off to length, and you're done. But again, I fish these year round. I was fishing them in October in Chapaka when it was just about ready to, winter was just about ready to arrive up there. Nothing worked. This fly was just a killer. There wasn't a damsel around anywhere, but you fished it right down on the bottom, and the fish were just down there nymphing away on, eating anything they could. And this fly saved the day, saved the weekend, and we caught quite a few fish. So. Okay, any questions or clear? Pretty simple.
Bart, how do you put that down to the bottom? Do you have any weight on that, or just use a split shot?
Don't know. I use almost all my Stillwater. I'm using an intermediate camo line. So it's a slow sink. It may sink about 1.5 to 2 inch per second sink rate. It's a Cartland line, but it's called a camo line, and so it's actually got a variegated. It's clear, but it's variegated between green, browns, and grays. And the reason I got into using it is that Denny Rickard, that was his sort of recommended line. I think he probably got some sort of commission off of recommending them, but it's a so it's an intermediate line to get them on the bottom, and so they're I guess saying they're fished right on the bottom. They're hanging by the bottom on an intermediate line. So. Okay.
So I can tell you that Rio makes a camo intermediate line. That's a really nice line too. And if you are planning to go over to Leech for our outing over there, this might be a good fly to have over there also, and fish it just like Bart tells you to do right off the bottom.
Yeah, right off the bottom, and little 2-inch strips. I mean, these things, you just sort of strip it in little 2-inch jerky strips, because that's what these guys do. You know, they don't move real fast, but just little tiny jerky strips on the bottom. And yes, it does work wonderfully at Leech. It's worked well for me up in Dusty Lake, real well. And in Dusty, for opening season, March, I would just fire this thing into the reeds and then just start bringing it out real slow. The total opposite direction of an emerging damsel, which actually goes into the reeds. But the fish were right up there, had their noses in the dead reeds, and they love this thing. So, yeah, my favorite fly, actually. Okay.
That was also, Bart, that was also the type of fly that we used at Coffee Pot last year when we had the great success. We were using it, however, in a light green, light olive green color.
Okay, that's what this is here. So it, yeah, greens, browns, tans. A color you would never figure is sort of a golden, what do I want to call it? A golden yellow. Orangish golden yellow is real effective. But also just, you know, look at what you think's on the color of the bottom and try to match it. So, so fun fly. Let's see. So the second fly, and I'm sure you've all tied it and fished it, but it's another one of my favorites. Again, I got turned on to it up fishing Tunquoy Lake in the fall. So when the fish, you know, there's no hatches, the chironomids aren't around up there, and the fish are trying to fatten up for winter. This pattern just was deadly for a couple of trips up there, 2 falls in a row. And this is Chan's ruby-eyed leech. So on the front is a 1/8 inch copper cone. And again, I got this from a Canadian company called Canadian Yama. You'll hear Phil Rowley and Brian Chan plug them. And in fact, I got a 10% discount. When Phil Rowley came down to the club and did a tying for us, what was it, 2 years ago? He gave us all discount coupons to this company called Canadian Yama. And they have a lot of the English fly tying materials, as well as a great source of beads or in cones in these colors that you really can't find locally very often. So I'd like to support local fly shops, but I did get this up in Canada. And so this is an 1/8 inch cone. This is on a 52-63. And so these are tied in 3X and 4X traditionally. I didn't have any 4X, so this is being on a 63, and this is in 10. And the sizes really are 12s, 10s, and 8s is really the range that I have them in. And I have them in all the colors of the rainbow, but we're going to tie tonight's in black and red, which is a traditional color. But I do have them in the color of the rainbow and use them. And they work very well down here. If any of you fish the Pay Lakes up in Grass Valley, they love these things. So in fact, it's the only fly I take when I go fish there. Of course, those fish will eat just about anything, is what to tell the truth. And behind this, we have an 1/8 inch silver lined bead, and that's important. It's not just a regular bead, it's called a silver lined bead. And I picked this up at the Joanne's Fly Shop. Actually, I picked this up at the Ben and Franklin Fly Shop in Redmond, Washington, where I got these. And you buy them by the tube, and this is what, size 8 silver lined round bead. This is in 6/aught. And I think that this one on the hook's an 8/aught, but yeah, I've got some 8/aughts here, but silver lined ruby beads. So I've already got them on, and it's tied with a black thread. So it's pretty simple. Again, a real simple fly, real simple, the way I like them. And again, if you want to watch a very skilled tire tie this, Phil Rowley does have this up on his YouTube channel, tying this fly. And so after you wind it on, you want to kind of try to jam this bead up. Now note that this, and when we put the body on, we'll further jam it. Notice that the bead is up inside the cone. If you use too large a bead, they'll be lined up, and that's not how the original's tied, and I kind of like it. It's just kind of this little glimpse up there of red. It's not a big red bead. Will it fish if it's a big red bead? Probably, absolutely. These always are reminded that fish are cold-blooded with the brain about the size of my thumbnail. So this is semi-seal. I think we all use it. I love this stuff. I've got, it says try every color, and I have. So I just like the material. Great stuff. But this is black and red. The other color, which works real well, is called bruised. And it's actually a blue metallic and black, like black and blue. So it works real well. So you're not going to need a lot of it. So first, the tail is actually semi-seal. And you just continue to pull it apart and stack it on itself, trying to sort of get the ends to line up. Just a little tough, again, like with almost any pattern, about the length of the body. That may be a little rich, but we'll put it in. Just tie in over the barb of the hook. Nothing special about this. Lock it down. And I just take the excess off. Got too much on there. There we go. Just try to probably ripped a little bit too much off the tail. And then you're going to make a dub. Whoops, my magnifying glass hit it. Going to make a dubbing loop. Now, truth be told, I usually tie brushes. I'm not sure if you remember former member Steve Sato. We all went over to Steve Sato, a group of us, of club members, went over to Steve Sato's place and made up a dubbing brush maker. And I've been making brushes with that little machine for the last 15 years, and I really like it. I'm going to try to tie a dubbing brush live tonight. Or not a brush, but there are all sorts of styles of, I'm gonna have to turn, whoops, lost my, I'm gonna have to turn the light on and blind you folks for a minute because I can't see, so pardon.
Actually, that works out pretty good.
You folks can actually see the fly. A lot of glare.
It's easier with that light on.
Really?
That's even better to see the fly.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Well, I'm going to turn it back off, and I don't want you to see too much. So, I mean, so
So when you make your dubbing brushes, are you making them with wire?
no, this is the thread.
No, I understand
So-
what you're doing right now.
Oh, for
But
the brush,
when
yeah.
you're, with your machine and when you're making a brush, are you making it with wire?
Yeah, I'm using brassy, I'm using copper wire and brassy, and I can
Thank
also vary the colors. And so like with a bruised, if I'm tying a bruised leech, I've actually used metallic blue copper wire. So yeah, I really like the little dubbing brush machine. We should probably hold a little workshop and make a whole bunch more of
I
those.
was just going to say, why don't you do that?
Yeah, it's I think Steve got the plans out of I wouldn't say Popular Mechanics, but it may have been an old Outdoor Life or something. I mean, it was one of those types. Okay.
I do the same thing with a drill, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's very inefficient and very hit and miss. I would like to find something more reliable and repeatable.
Yeah, uh-oh. Spun the handle right off my dubbing winder. The parts for making it actually come from an X-Acto knife, a couple of cup hooks, a balsa wood block, and just hold on, I've got to spin my handle back onto my dubbing winder. Just decided.
So are you
to fail.
volunteering for January's tying meeting to make one of those?
Actually, I would, but unfortunately, a remodel that I'm doing is going to take my shop from me, so I don't have the place to do it any longer. But we'll figure something out. It's so this may be a little overloaded, but pick it out a bit.
Oh, you can do it.
Get my hackle pliers. There we go. Well, I'm sorry to have not had the light on for the whole thing. The way I was testing it the other night, I didn't think anyone could see it because it's all glary on my end. As I look up so after you've got your dubbing brush, just like, palmering anything else.
What's the advantage of a dubbing brush?
Well, you don't have these little blank spots like I've got there by pulling I just ended up pulling the fibers down the thread, so I don't have that problem. And you can just sit down and crank out the flies. You're not having to, sit there and twist the thread each time. This is a really poor job, gentlemen. Yeah, you're not having the problem I'm having tonight with a dubbing brush. And also, one brush will make like 3 or 4 flies
Oh,
here. So you can just sort of crank them out. Yeah, I guess I'm demonstrating on how not to do it, so that's okay. Now, don't think I brought my wire brush down with me, but so there's 2 things about this fly to finish it off, and one is to take your wire brush and just stroke the heck out of it and get all the fibers flowing to the back. And then you want them to relax a bit more. So take a cup of water, put it in the microwave, bring it to boiling, then dump all your flies in there and leave them for about 3 minutes. Pour out the water, and what it does, it takes all the starch out of this angora, and then you can stroke them again and bring them back into a line like that. So if you fished them like this, will it catch fish? Absolutely, but maybe just for the aesthetic of the fly. But I like to boil them. So that is a ruby-eyed leech. Highly recommended. I like it, as I said, year-round, but it's especially effective in the fall. Why, I don't know, but when fish are up in the shallows early in the morning or when the sun starts warming up the waters, they'll move up into the shallows in the fall. And this is just a great pattern. I fish it with fairly fast strips, about 8-inch strips, fairly fast. And it just seems to trigger something because leeches don't move fast, but the movement, the flash, and the copper and the red just very effective fly. So to tell the truth, if I was to only be given 2 flies to go fish in a Stillwater, I would have this fly in a number of different colors, and I'd have damsels in a number of different colors, and I'd feel fully armed for the day. So
If you want to fish smallmouth in the Columbia Basin, this would be a great fly also.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think anything will eat it. So yeah, so there we go. Yeah, so that's what I know. It's too bad if we're going to do saltwater flies. I got quite a repertoire of saltwater flies these days, but those are my Stillwater flies that I tie in. Yeah, so I'll bring up. So as I said, I'm sitting in for Gary, and I'll tell you frankly, coming next year, we do not have anyone lined up to do fly tying for the club. And I put out a call a number of times, and yeah, can't find anyone who would like to do this. And I guess proof positive, if I can do it, anybody can do it. If anybody wants to give a try at it, I think I'm going to recommend to the club they buy a camera. This is actually this Logitech camera I'm using. Gary has it. You can get them online for $50. Plugs right into my laptop, and away we go. So if anyone wants to give it a shot and host an evening, give me a call or give Mike Golub a call, who will be sort of taking over as president in this coming year. And we'll keep the fly tying going on.
Bart, just an FYI, when you turn the light on, it shined right onto the light more than your shirt, and the autofocus then focused right on the fly. It was very effective.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. It's probably a good thing. I did a pretty poor job on that first fly, so we'll put it up under the spotlight. Maybe we can see it a bit more.
So Bart, do you have anybody who's coordinating these fly tying sessions, or are you just looking for fly tyers?
I'm looking for the coordinator, frankly. I don't think we have to. Predominantly, I'm looking for the coordinator. No one wants to coordinate it. I think it's, people are busy, and I get it. And I think they also think that they're going to be locked into having to do all the tying, which I don't think is necessarily true.
So another question then along the same lines would this be continued to, even if we continue to meet or in the forward meeting in person, would we consider this to be a Zoom session all the time, or are we going to still try to meet in person like at WDF and W?
I think it's really kind of up to the group. Frankly, I think Zoom works well and for this here, and it works
For this specifically, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've got how many? I've got probably well over 15, 16 people on the call today, and it was many years ago that I went to the in-person, but we may have had 8, and so this seems to be pretty good participation here.
And I've been a regular participant, even going up to DF and W, even up in Ridgefield, and when it was on 4th Plain, and
Yep.
A big group was 10.
Yeah, I think it actually you were able to join from Great Falls, if I remember. So
I was, and I actually did the tying that night too. So
yeah.
because I was called out of town.
Yeah, so I think it can be virtual, and it works that well, and it leaves. We just need to pass the camera around amongst people, and I guess I'll go back to it. If I could do this, and it took me about an hour of prep, right? I think anybody can do it, and I've had a couple of folks tell me that, well, they didn't think they were that good at tire. Well, look at me.
Yeah.
So we all learned something, and yeah. So I think we'll see what goes forth. Someone does need to step up and sort of coordinate it, and the board will talk about it here in a week. So a lot of the activity, not to pontificate here too much, but a lot of the activities the club used to be led by other club members. We're really finding a lot of those club members are now kind of timing out of that. Don Starkin just contacted me. He's the longtime coordinator of our fly tying school, and was just sort of a bedrock to that. And he's gotten to the point now where there's other things he's gotten busy, and so he's going to retire from doing the fly tying, the fly fishing school. And so if we as a club want to continue to do those sorts of things that are very valuable, other folks are going to have to volunteer. So that's what keep clubs going. So, and we're facing the same thing with the net building and rod building and now fly tying. So any other questions about the flies, or we could probably sit and tell stories the entire evening, but that's what I have for you this evening.
Thanks, Bart.
Thanks a lot, Bart.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for joining. And one more plug. Remember, the Christmas meeting is coming up Wednesday next. I have only 2 presentations for slideshows. So if you have an interest in doing a small slideshow, 5 minutes, please step up. We need some presenters, and if you have any challenges in putting that together, just give me an email. I'm glad to spend some time on the phone telling you how to do it. But yeah, let's hear about your summer vacation, and see you next week at the membership meeting. So.